So I wanted to make a video about the end goal of the game, just to give an overview for those who are new. But also, I'll talk about, because I bring this up very much in my videos, the difference between a video or a kingdom that is full of bullies and how it shapes up. And this stage that I'm going to be covering, it's considered the pre-season right before first KvK, first kingdom versus kingdom, versus one that's not like that. And I'm going from a second city that I made in the kingdom that this was my very first kingdom. Um, I'm helping people migrate out, and so I'm doing it from the second city because already my city is gone. And I'm going to talk in terms of first the end goal. So up here is a map of the actual layout of this. This does not match the 2828. That one would be a different one where I'll show in a moment. This one would be closer since it's 2769. 2828, I think it's in the same realm as one that would be, I think, 64 more than this, or 72. So that could give you an idea if you are close to 2828. The middle is called Arica. You can always tell by the middle whether it's a kingdom that matches yours, or even if you recognize one of the names of the zones. Okay, so I'm going to be doing some videos later about what happened in the history, because there's some very fun stories, and I love to tell stories, and I think people learn from stories. But initially, we all start out in Zone 1. We're surrounding this whole area. We have Region 1, we have Region 2, we have Region 3, we have Region 4, Region 5, and Region 6. Now, I landed where well, actually, I don't think this is where I landed. This is the alliance I joined. I landed down at the bottom, because when you form a new city, they put you on the outskirts. So I'm down here where it's a green, and I'm on the edge of Zone 4. Now, if I were really to consider in staying here and working in this kingdom, even though the fog is cleared and this is a place for me to start making relationships and stuff, I would try to find an alliance probably nearby first, and I would kind of reach out to them. So I would look around, I would go zoom out since the fog is cleared, and I would just take a look at some of these. Now, if you notice, a lot of them have HRB in the name. This one does not. So this one might actually let me in, because it's a smaller one. And yeah, and look at this. No, it's a friendly one. I can tell. It looks like it's probably Arabic, probably Muslim, which is just perfectly fine. Um, they're definitely, each alliance has a culture. Just the fact they talked about respect and all of that, I would be comfortable there, I bet. I do know the way these HRBs developed, and as a result, I would not want to be in any of the HRBs. I just this when I start sharing the stories, you'll understand more about that. But I just did a check on the alliance list, and then the first one that said anyone can join, I just went ahead and joined so I could start building my city, with help from alliance friends. But I'm not really putting a lot of effort into it because this is more of a training city. So I'll just do things here and there when I'm in there wanting to check out how things are going and all of that. I do have some friends who will be staying in here because I've made a lot of friends in this kingdom. They want to see how things go. Some want to stay till the first kingdom versus kingdom battles and see how it goes. And because so many people have left, they are likely to have a chance to actually fight, even though they're pretty low level. So that might be an inspiration to them to stay, even though for me, I could never fight for the person who became this leader. So we start off everyone in Zone 1. And if you see on here on the map up above, all the blues are where my alliance members are, the members of my alliance are. The red flashies are where there are banners telling certain instructions, like telling us to move on to alliance territory, although the territory is all over, so a lot of people are on alliance territory. It's not just where that flag is. Unfortunately, when they put these flags, a lot of times people just congregate there, especially if that's where the central fortress is, or here the alliance leader who stands out with a different color. So, and then there's all these others. I don't recognize what the verbiage is, but I can tell right now this is a sanctum, and they're going to go after the sanctum. That makes sense. So this is probably where they're building flags towards the sanctum. So I haven't, I joined yesterday, but there's so little chat since I joined. It's mostly people coming and going, joining the group and leaving the group. So, and since there's no dialogue, a lot of times people will join, see if it's active in the chat, and then leave. And a lot of times there's a lot of alliances that have no activity in the chat. And you're like, are they alive? Are they dead? What's going on? That kind of thing. But there's a lot of interesting things that happen in this kingdom. But right now I want to focus on the overview. So we all start in zone 1. And usually in the bully kingdoms, and this happened in mine, both this one and the present one that I'm working on doing training on and developing my roundtable alliance in, they have one dominant in each zone start to form. And one did. This was the zone that I was in. It's called Corral. This HRBP is now the dominant. The previous one was not HRBP. It was another alliance, and I'll discuss that later. Down here, there was another alliance that dominated, and now the one that's taken over is HRBE. These two major alliances, they left and went to other kingdoms. The one down here left about a month into the game, a little over a month, and then this one left recently. In fact, I was notified by a friend, what happened to your neighbors? And I hadn't been paying attention. This one got real strong, and I've got a lot of stories around them. Over here, there was one called QTC. Actually, QTC was more down here. Here it is down here. There were 5 dominant, but the real dominant is the one that got the kingship. So pretty much each region gets a dominant one, and then those that are get really strong in these regions. Now, mind you, first off, the passes between the level 1 zones, the zone 1s, the level 1 passes, they're going to open first. And when they opened, whoever grabs that passage, they can go between the different zones. And they can start battles if they want. And a lot of times there will be battles over these actual zones. Passes. And over the sanctums, there's always going to be battles. Well, not always. There's often battles. Ours actually, once we got it, they didn't battle us with it. But by then, I had gotten a peace treaty going, and I think by then, the leaders of the alliance that their farming alliance caused the battle with, I have a feeling they were already starting to talk about leaving, because it was around the time that a council formed between the top 5, and that's when things really started to break down. Because the one that had bought his power was 5 times, no, more than 5 times, about 5 times stronger than the next biggest alliance, because he literally just must have thrown money at at the at the game. There's no way he could have gotten where he got without spending a lot of money. So then they'll be fighting sometimes between the different zones, but then the next goal is to get these level 2 passes, and when they open, they can start moving into here, but the only ones that can go through those passes are those that belong to the alliance that owns it. So sometimes they'll want to own all of them from their zone into another, which I've pointed out a lot with KWP, how they're going after any alliance that goes near any of the passes, especially the level 2 passes. They do not want anyone getting into level 2 unless so that they can control who gets in there. And then once they get in here, they'll often build their second center fortress, and you've got these 3 center fortresses that you can build. Sorry, I gotta shrink down. You've got these 3 center fortresses available to be built when you're an alliance. So one will go in the first zone, one will go into the second zone, and then if you manage to get to the third zone, you'll want to put yours there. And the alliance I joined, they're currently building a second fortress, because this is one that was formed. Well, actually, no. This alliance I don't actually know much about. I'm gonna have to figure out a little bit more about that, because since I was way up here in this zone, even though I cleared the fog very quickly and started figuring out some of the dynamics down here, not nearly as much. Sorry if I make you dizzy. Not nearly as much as just, well, since I'd become alliance leader and had several wars to deal with and all that, I knew mostly this zone and then down here, the one that left after about a month, which this one became, and some of the members stayed. After it changed names to HRBE, it still had some of the same members because I recognized their names. But I tried to reach out to them because we had been bullied so much. We wanted to get out. We wanted to try to get to this level 1 pass. We wanted to come over here. And I wanted to work with them. And their layout was completely different than this. There's a ton of open land right now because so many alliances have disbanded or left. Um, so and there's a lot of like dead flags and whatnot. But it's since the major ones have disbanded and left. And some of them literally took all their territory down, which kind of surprised me. And if you look over here, so there were 5 major ones. One of them was this KO2C, and I just noticed this. When you click on it, I saw that one of their center fortresses was burning yesterday, and I was curious about that. And here it is. It's looking like it's being repaired. So someone said it to be repaired, but look at the description. If you need a passport, I can supply it to you. Alliance was dissolved. I can only sell passport. And I know that there's another one that was also one of the major players. In fact, they were the 3rd biggest bully alliance in here. And I'm trying to remember where they were located. They were P22. I believe it was I'm going to do a quick alliance search to see if we can find them in the alliance list. See if they come up. Maybe I'll just do P22 and see what comes up. There's 221. Sorry if this slows down. Okay, I'm not seeing it. I wasn't sure if it had become 22L or 22I was still around. 22I was, I believe, the big one. Let's see if this is it. Yep, here we go. So this is also an alliance. Now, mind you, their power is way low because all of their members have left. But orangey lying and, all of this verbiage. And I saw this in the Kingdom chat about a week ago, similar to this. And so there was a lot of disharmony with the leaders that got to the end goal of this kingdom, which is once you get to zone 3. Let's move up this map over here. Oops, I'm not zoomed out enough. Let's keep zooming. Okay, so once you get over to zone 3, your goal is to be the alliance that gets to the Lost Temple and conquers it. Just like the sanctums get to be controlled by whoever. Someone went after a guardian, it looks like, and didn't succeed. The guardians are really, really tough around the Lost Temple, but the guardians leave really good runes, so you want to get rid of them. See, this one's wood gathering plus 10%, lasting for 6 hours. But anyone who's in zone 3 can go grab the rune. The rune is available to everybody, as I've mentioned in other ones, and here's other runes around. So evidently the temple guardians or the Lost Temple guardians were out, and they required a lot of troops to conquer them. So before this was conquered, there were 3 or 4 major alliances with their borders up against it, and they had to fight it together. There's no way any one of them probably could have conquered it. Maybe, possibly, if they had multiple rallies from their one alliance. But in the end, the strongest won, and the strongest was HRBL. And I'll just let you look real quick at HRBL. Oh, I'm going to have to go out to Lost Temple's not going to let me show you. I'll go out to the nearest flag so you can take a look. And this is the only one that never changed its name. Now, mind you, it has all these listed, but HRBI is gone. HRBP exists. I showed it to you. It's where HRBI used to be. HRBC is gone. QTC changed to HRBC, and then they must have changed back to QTC. And then HRBE exists, but HRBE was made up from the one that left after about a month, and it's only got a handful of the members, I believe. And then it shows their farms. It says no drama, no political BS. Well, we'll see how that goes over. And currently, this is just a king in name only. The king stepped down to go visit and address issues with the top four alliances. So the biggest alliances had left already. So I do not know how well this kingdom will do. There's a very strong alliance, 1.6 million. The other alliances are fairly strong too. But that 1.6 million, like 100 million of it is just one. It was just the king, and so and that's what I said. He bought his. Oh, here they're at 1.2 now. So he must be recruiting friends from other places too, because these were not nearly this strong. And this one is, and this is probably the third largest. He said the next four largest or the four largest. Oh no, this is the one that's been disbanded. So that was only 62 million because they've already left most of them. It could be that they're going to repopulate it with loyal, shall I say, servants, because that's how they work in these bully kingdoms. You're their servants. Like I refer to those academies, they're slave colonies. They tell you what to do and you do it, or you get booted and then you get attacked. So, and HRBL was proving to be one of the biggest bullies. He was always in the top 10 for the elimination event, and usually the top one, and he was always the top one for Mightiest Governors, except maybe the last one. It was like the last one he was preparing to become king, and so he was trying to change his image, maybe. I don't know. I like to read things that might not be there, but it's only because I have so much experience working with tyrants and bullies as well as great leaders. That's what I like. It's the great leaders I work with. I've had some amazing, amazing leaders. So that's the end goal for your kingdom. Now the end goal is we are all in preseason right now. I'm sorry if this slows down, but BlueStacks tends to do that. Oops, I wanted the world. Now I'm zooming in. I want the world, so let's keep zooming out so that we can look at regions. So this is our region, and we are still in preparation season. And what it says here, kingdoms in their preparation season with an eternal struggle for control of the lost temple. So we've gotten control of the lost temple, and now these 8 kingdoms are going to start to compete. So like 2828 is 8, a factor of 8 different from one of these. So if I do the math real quick, let's see, is it this one, Homefirth? Yes, it's Homefirth. So if you were to look at Homefirth, you could compare this to 2828. Same zone names. Zone 1 is Rivendell. Zone 2 is Spirit, Yanshiu, Umbar. Same names. Our end goal is first they're going to try to get into this middle section where they'll have some battles. You know, these two will be able to battle here. These two will be able to battle here, or 3. And part of that as well is by this point they have to start having some kind of communication too, because ultimately you're going to need people to start being loyal. Well, only the big ones will really worry about that. The rest of the small ones who haven't been conquered and dispersed, like the plan is for these 3 in 2828, and possibly there are others down here that I haven't discovered yet. These 3 are already communicating. I can guarantee you the predominant ones in these 3 are definitely already communicating, and they have their own plan. Whether they succeed or not depends on the strength of the big alliances down here and the power of the small alliances if they start coming together. The sad thing is they don't realize without the support of the small alliances, their power is a lot weaker. You know, who's going to actually provide the power for the whole kingdom if everyone starts jumping ship or abandoning their cities? It'll be a shell of strength. And I can guarantee you of that 1.6 million, there's probably a lot of inactive players in that. I do know that in the small alliances, there are a lot of inactive players. And I'll show that in a different video. So this is kind of what the layout of 2828 is, and the end goal is to get into zone 3 and then battle to control the lost temple, because the first one to control can take over the kingship. Now in some alliances, that kingship can transfer back and forth. And I'm going to cover immigration requirements in another video soon. Of course, the city doesn't qualify because it's brand new, but it would qualify for the beginners one if I wanted to go to a nation's, uh, one of the baby kingdoms, like I showed in another video. Okay, so then if we look at season one, which we are about to enter, it says in the off season before season one, kingdoms of the same region will enter Lost Kingdom season one at the same time. So they opened the Lost Kingdom, which is that middle section, that zone 3, at the same time. Now I imagine those main ones moved into one of these, but they could have moved into a younger kingdom too. The immigration rules, and if I highlight them real quickly, maybe they will show them to me. The immigration rules are 10 days older than your destination kingdom. So you have to be a City Hall 16 or higher, and your character starting kingdom cannot be over 10 days older than your destination kingdom. So I don't qualify because I'm not a level 16 or higher. And then your power does not exceed, depends on what the king puts it at. The default is typically 10 million, but these kingdoms are probably anxious to build up their power for the ranking and the matching, for the kingdom versus kingdom, and to look tough, I imagine. I'm in a KvK kingdom, but I established my city there to learn about KvK, and they were already an established kingdom. So, and I'm not a warrior, but I want to train warriors. I would like to create a military academy, but it's got to be player versus player at an even level. That's just I'm or close to an even level. And agreed upon rules of engagement. None of this bullying BS, because that is just it's just lacking integrity and good character. It's just beyond belief how these players act. And that's the only reason why I'm still here making videos, because of the bullies. I probably wouldn't be doing this if it weren't for them, because I've dealt with bullies for over 30 years. So there is these requirements, and like I said, I'm going to do a separate video on immigration just because there are a few other things beyond this that have to be part of the steps that people have to be aware of. And I want to prepare the people who are still not migrated yet, because they're new players moving out. But probably within a month of the formation of this kingdom, even sooner, I bet, a lot of us were talking about leaving. So I'm going to show you another kingdom I've become familiar with. I have created characters in various kingdoms. You can see a couple here, and there's more up here. But I'm just going to show this one right here of how it looks different when you're, and look at, this is the one that matches 2828. I like that. Something that's different when you rule it differently, because I'm starting to get to know the politics there, and I'm helping people migrate there. It may not be the only kingdom I help people migrate to. It just depends. So I'm going to move out a little bit here. We're going to get out of that. We're going to go into the other kingdom. So basically the layout is similar to what we had in our kingdom. There are, but now there's 8. There's one at each corner and one at each side of the Lost Kingdom. And this is where the battles for the Lost Kingdom is going to happen. And you'll notice the design is slightly different because there's going to be more battle seasons. And because there's 8 kingdoms fighting for the king's land in the Lost Kingdom, the king's land will, and I don't even know ultimately what happens when you get to the king's land if you get the winner there, to be honest. But that's the next stage. I'm going to probably put a city in a much older kingdom to start learning more, but at this phase, let's just deal with where we're at in the next phases. This is to just give a broader scope of where your ultimate goal is for your kingdom, but you decide, how you want to play it. I have no desire to get to zone 3. I have no desire to even get to zone 2. My desire is to train people to deal with the bullies, to deal the best job they can with what they're doing, work with their allies, build teamwork, build up leaders, build up officers, that kind of thing, because that's what I do in the real world, and this is a great platform for that. I also want to teach warrior skills through the game because I hope that the stories I share here can also have some real world application. Because I'll have another channel that I'll be starting to add more stories to, where I do the real world stories I have, just to show people different things, ways of looking at things, and hopefully new perceptions that help open their eyes to seeing things in a little different way in their own life. And if it sounds very arrogant and presumptuous, it's you just have to hear what it is to understand. So you'll see where the different battles are going to be taking place. And as each season goes, they'll get more and more towards the center. And these battles will be intense. They have a lot of preparation. The players that are playing at this level have a great deal of experience, the vast majority of them, usually. I don't know about this kingdom, the 2769, because I do know a lot of the players that got really high numbers of power were brand newbies just like me. They started maybe 2 weeks before me because, well, less than 2 weeks because they jumped, and I covered jumping before. They jumped to have an advantage as a huge alliance. So the one who was my enemy became my friend and helped me start figuring all of this dynamic out about how come the bullies had such an advantage was that they had jumped and he had only been playing 7 days longer than me. And he kept pushing me, you got to get into a stronger alliance. You're going to die in that alliance. You got to get to a stronger alliance. And he didn't understand. My goal wasn't KvK. My goal wasn't even Lost Kingdom. Do I want to help other people get there if they want? Oh, you betcha. If that's their goal, I'll help them as long as they're willing to fight with chivalry and honor and integrity and all of that equal footing. That's why I call my alliance the Round Table, because it's to emulate King Arthur's Round Table, where he was raising his knights with chivalry. So this is the end goal and the strategy. Now, I told you I was going to show you real quick what 2772 looks like, because that is a kingdom that I'm starting to get to know a little bit, and I'm liking what I see, because when I look at the Lost Temple, let me get over to Zone 3. There's 3 very strong alliances abutting it and touching it, and you notice one of them has possession of it. But since I formed my little city there, it's changed hands from one of the others. So they're transferring it from one to the other, to the other, to the other, to the other, to the other. And so they're sharing it. And I know I'm not giving any secrets away, because anyone who looked a week ago would have seen someone else possessed it. Now, maybe they were thinking they were fighting over it and someone else took possession, but they could have a small city in here and see just exactly what I saw too by the kingdom chat. The kingdom chat was such that we're handing over the reins. I will share a little bit more from another city about that, just because I can share too about how they handle the killing event. It is the way a killing event should be handled, and the way I was trying to get some leaders to listen to. They don't listen. Not in this kingdom, not in 2769. The ones that went to 2772 may have. The ones that went to 2770, I'm not sure, because I do believe that's where one of the others went to. I haven't found them yet. I did form a city. I do believe I formed a city in 2770 from another account, just to see if I could figure out where they were too, because I like to know the dynamics of politics at this level as well. But I looked over here in 2770 and I didn't see, but they left just a week ago, so they wouldn't be nearly the strength of Ors 2 unless they had formed the relationship over a long period of time and blended with them. So you can actually start taking a look at the other kingdoms within your season. Once you start once the fog clears, you can start taking a look. The fog won't clear for a long time. You have to get through that phase in the monument that I mentioned in the clearing the fog videos. But let me go to the Lost Kingdom. For some reason, I was zooming in because they look to be the dominant, but I don't know who's got the Lost Temple. So let's look at who's got the Lost Temple, which is this little guy here. So that one is possessed by, Counselor has to talk to me. This uh, Sadia, so it's probably, oh, Don't Daffy. You know what? There were some Don't Daffies in our kingdom for a while. There was a Don't Daffy my duck, and there's a Don't Daffy my hype. So this could be another alliance that left from 2769 early on, maybe. I don't recognize. I didn't remember seeing a lot of Don't Daffies. Oh, of course, they could have come and visit. A lot of times they'll come and visit and joke around and get into the alliance chat and all of that. So that's kind of interesting. And I like I was saying too, they didn't have to stay in this region because of that 10 days. So this kingdom, Kingdom of Logins, we are 73 days server old, 1 hour. So they could have gone up here. I do believe some went up here, and that's a 7-day discrepancy. So they could have gone up there, and look, it would have been the matching layout if they did go up there. I did put a city in there, but I haven't visited it at all lately. And I put a city over here just when I was starting to play with putting cities in other kingdoms because I didn't really know what I was doing, and I learned by experience, so I just did it. But they could have gone in many of these kingdoms because of the discrepancy in age is not that high. This looks like it's just at 10 days. So there's a range you can go. You don't have to stay just in your region. Of course, they would have gone real strong, but would have there been a real strong presence where they went? They likely would have sent a city or two or formed a city or two, like I'm showing here, to check it out and see what's going on and look at the dynamics. But they probably waited till the fog was lifted because then they wouldn't have to clear the fog. If you go before the fog lifts, then you have to clear the fog, and the fog doesn't lift too early. So, and a lot of these people didn't even clear the fog until that last phase where you get the gems for clearing the fog. I can't even begin to tell you how many times I've read in Kingdom Chat, I can't check it out. I haven't cleared the fog there. And I'm thinking, we've been playing almost 2 months and you haven't cleared the fog and you're one of the leaders? But that's how some people think. They just think in their immediate, they just deal with the things that they think are fun to control and the things that require work and effort on their part that we could give them more knowledge, mind you, they just ignored. So that's a beginning overview of what this looks like from the top down of what the end goal is. And I will share a little bit more about the differences between a bully kingdom and a kingdom that has authority that people can respect because that's important. I mean, it's like that in the real world too, but for some reason people think in ROK it doesn't make a difference because it's a war game. Well, there's more to war than simply dominating those that are weaker than you. In fact, that's not even war. That's why I keep calling them bullies. In the One Kingdom, the 2772, they call them thugs. So that's why I named my playlist the way I did. I didn't even think of calling them that. And I've been told by someone, well, if you call them a bully, of course they're not going to respond to you the way you want them to. And it's like, well, I never called them a bully to their face, but I'm calling them a bully now. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I am literally going to be calling out every kind of bully. And with videos, I can give them their 15 minutes of fame. So this is the overview for now, and I will now transfer over to another new account and make an overview with migration involved. So signing out.